Well, we need to welcome you back, and we're still with the big story for today. And we're looking at the federal government's recent move to reposition the oil and gas sector, looking at that very act or bill that was signed into act. And funny enough, is an executive order by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just last week, indicating more incentive for those willing to come into the Nigerian oil and gas sector, especially knowing that we have about 38% in total of oil deposits in Africa. But funny enough, only 4% have been really looked into. Well, it feels we need to do more. But more in the sense that also the gas should take center stage as the world moves to greener energy and cleaner energy source. And it feels reforming or repositioning of the gas sector would do a lot, not just only when it comes to having enough resources to the country, but also a better way to handle, a cheaper and better way to handle the gradual removal of fossil fuel. But anyway, that's how it is, and we still have the other person, but the spokesperson of the Joe Youth Council, Berafa Bedford, with us and helping us to enjoy the discussion. But what we'll enjoy to do now is go get message for our sponsors, and when we come back, more discussion centered on the reforms. Let's go on a break.
Oh, yeah, follow the road, auto better quality. If you talk gas matter, oh yeah, follow Benetta. Gas with the better quality. Benetta gas with the full regiment. Benetta gas. Delivery brother na Shapali. Benetta gas. Gas no mago. Benetta gas. Different type of gas cylinder. Benetta gas we go last you well. Benetta gas matter. Benetta now do. Benetta gas. Service na them they run. Benetta make you carry go.
For gas matter and home delivery, make a wire Benetta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Benetta gas plant, the Etekwele of gas matters.
It's colorful, so colorful, wow! It's Oza Furniture and Interior Merchant, a leading name for luxurious furniture at ultra-modern super showroom. Well-stocked is now located near you for the sales and installation of long-lasting exotic and quality interior and exterior furniture for your living space, such as foreign Turkey royal chairs and sofas, glass, wooden and marble royal dining tables and chairs, conference tables and chairs, executive office tables, reception tables, orthopedic office chairs, etc. Oza Furniture and Interior Merchant has in stock royal king-size and queen-size beds, wardrobes, mirror consoles, wall frames and artworks for decoration, wine bars, big TV shelves and TV stands, gym equipment like motorized gym bicycles, gaming chairs, treadmills, outdoor swing chairs, etc. All at affordable prices. We deliver with our vehicles. To make your home that cozy paradise, locate our super showroom along DSC Expressway opposite Platinum Banquet Place, beside Ugboloposo Junction, Efru, Delta State. Or call 0806-394-3198 or 0703-368-7179. Uzo Furniture and Interior Merchant for comfortable home interior furniture experience.
Well, it is, and what is happening now is the issue of reform of the oil and gas sector, looking or knowing that the oil and gas sector seems to be a major contributor as it concerns revenue in the country. But what other ways should it go, and is the government doing enough to ensure that the reforms will definitely be felt by ordinary Nigerians who wish and would hope for a need that at least natural resources should be more of a blessing to us and a one that will keep all of Nigerians going. But anyway, we need to go on and continue with the discourse today on the show, and I need to quickly come back to you. Yes, we talked about the beautiful incentive being dangled by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to oil majors, especially cut across the world. But the question still remains: if the atmosphere is hot, nobody comes to do business, irrespective of the climate and irrespective of the incentive. But let's look at the present situation, especially as it concerns the oil and gas sector, and when it comes to that of security, which is paramount. We're not just talking about security of our gas pipelines and channels, but also security of investments from these oil majors. Are you quite comfortable with the level we have now? Because if you look at it, a couple of years back, when there was aggressiveness, serious aggressiveness in the Niger Delta, we had most of these oil majors closing shop and relocating. But do you feel that's a change now? And looking at this incentive, knowing how really secure and also safe the environment will be, would also determine how they will come. Are you comfortable where we are now as it concerns security?
Of course, security is a progressive innovation, and that must be looked at every three months, to review, upward review, of course, assessing, but what we used to be 10 years ago and what we are now, there's great improvement as regards security. It's arguably, you can say Niger Delta is the most peaceful region.
Funny enough,
for the last 10 years, it has been technically very peaceful. In terms of kidnapping, you don't hear of, except of course pockets, thief-free here and there, which is as a result of economic hardship, and you can excuse some of those pockets of security. But generally, the Niger Delta region has been, one of the most secured region in the last decades. And so, of course, with the employment of Tantita security outfit, the Niger Delta, the job people are known. We are security-minded persons. When it comes to guerrilla warfare, we are amphibious. We are both water and land. We are very, very strong in terms of drafting our local, security architecture. We are very, very, on ground, and particularly Tantita security outfit has been on ground, to ensure to provide that security for investments, federal government investments, across the Niger Delta region. So of course there should be upward review to further make the environment conducive. And what makes the environment conducive? Of course, power plays a very significant role, and infrastructure. There are necessary infrastructure, and the Niger Delta region is still lagging behind in terms of infrastructure improvement. Now look at recently there was in recent time there was a coastal Lagos, Lagos Calabar coastal road, that was to be done and was approved by the Federal Executive Council. And of course, they are not telling us that the first tier want to start from Lagos. It is not done anywhere in the world. This is where the resources are coming from, and we are relatively peace. Why don't you connect? Because where there's coastal connections, of course, it also eases the security burden, on the federal government. So the federal government should stand up on their feet and ensure that the needed infrastructure, that will aid, professional security, that will help the security, outfits, operate smoothly. It's welcoming. So there is need for upward review for the Tantita security outfit, and also, come romance with other ethnic nationalities.
Yeah, because that's where I was going to. Because as much as we look at Tantita, which is more like still homegrown and home-based, are really important, because if you look at it, many communities, and that's why the PIA was central in ensuring that safety, which would have also transcended around other major. But let's look at the issue of having the locals also a part of the security, because if you really also look at the PIA, it was indicated that wherever the pipeline passes, the people around there are always held accountable for losses or gains, would definitely be accountable to them. But let's look at that and how we need to deepen that as a form of securing these oil facilities and also possible investors that will come and be there. How really important is the locals to be taken along?
Of course, engaging locals, in security matters. It matters a lot. That's why the PIA captured it in the first place. And now, in recent time, the Isoko nation, the Isoko youth, have been agitating for over the years and saying that they are being left out in this security arrangement, because Isoko nation also holds major part of the oil and gas facility. So of course, them not being carried along, they have been crying out, and that cry has fallen on deaf ears, so to speak. So there is need for that engagement, that local, content engagement across board, across ethnic boards, and across community, particularly oil-bearing communities, and pipeline-bearing communities, as the case may be. Anywhere the federal government facility, anywhere facility is, oil and gas facility is, there is need to engage the locals, beyond practically, for that security, so that you can hold them accountable if there is any abnormality. security. So there is that need for that review to further engage, locals, particularly, community-based security personality. But of course, the Tantita, the Tantita also got, as that community engagement, that they have drawn, people from the community, people that are, are part and parcel of that outfit are not aliens, are people that were drawn for some of these oil-bearing communities, for the security and incorporated into it. And so there should be that review to make it more robust, to cover ethnic boundaries, so that there will not be any form of perceived ethnic agitation or ethnic bigotry. Okay.
Now, a very clear response to how secure environments will lead to a better and progressive nation was stressed also on Sunday when the special advisor to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on energy, I'm talking about Mrs. Olu, came out to say, well, we're now producing up to 200,000 barrels per day crude oil, which is, well, anyway, still a far cry from our OPEC quota. But let's look at sustaining it, because there's one thing for us to achieve, there's another thing to sustain. Now, yes, we do know the different security network, especially Tantita, is in collaboration with the Nigerian Navy and other sister agencies of government. But how do you feel we can sustain the 200,000 barrels a day and even see how we can improve on it? What approach should we take in ensuring that is sustainable? Okay,
now let me just take let me use an example. Let me use amnesty, as an example, to buttress this point. When the agitation became severe, the federal government via blessed memory, the former president of this nation, Yaradua, Musa Yaradua, when he brought in the amnesty program, you could see that dazzled the tension, and the sustaining of that amnesty program has contributed majorly to the peaceful disposition in the Niger Delta region, because the level of agitations have reduced drastically, importantly. So you will see that sustaining that program, has given birth to relative peace. So of course, the engaging the security architecture, the security outfit that being engaged, which is Tantita security engagement, is good enough, but sustaining that engagement will also determine, the peaceful disposition of this facility is dependent on sustaining the engagement of those security outfits, and particularly locals. The essence of saying now engage more locals, when the locals feels responsible, and feels carried along, of course you know that security will be sustained. But when the people you now hire and fire, so the government should not engage these people thinking that it will be an hire and fire situation, because if it's an hire and fire situation, it will, when I'm jobless, of course, when I don't have any job again, what will I think? I'll be thinking of how I can be independent and making my money. And look at it very, very well. When fire was rampant, you understand, there were no begging. Everybody was busy vandalizing their portion and doing what they want to do. But now you're now saying don't vandalize anymore. Let me engage you as surveillance, so that you now secure this facility. Now if you now say, okay, I don't want your services again, now we have improved greatly, let me disengage you. What are you telling the people? Go back to vandalizing to your former training. And of course now there are certain innovations that are even coming up. People now don't need to now break pipelines anymore. They are now going to drill the oil by themselves and doing reformation by themselves. So of course, that engagement further review upward, and those persons that you have engaged do training and retraining to build local content capacity, so that when the capacity of the people is being built, they get involved, they get engaged. And when they get involved and engaged, of course, that trade, that illegal trade that they are, that have been participating in, they will no longer go there. Everybody wants a better life. So there should be an upward review. There should be a sustainability plan of the federal government to sustain. Now, the contract is still not yet signed. Tantita is going about their duty, but practically it's not. There are other personalities that were brought in to say, okay, we're going to involve other persons, but that involvement has not been signed to law, has not been signed, so it's still pending. But however, there is room for great improvement. Our barrels have improved, but there is room for it to improve more if there is other forms of engagement and deliberate effort by government, to put necessary infrastructure in place to hit the ground running. Okay,
now still talking about hitting the ground running. Well, in case you're joining us, it's Quest today, and we're looking at the present push by this administration to reposition the oil and gas sector, especially looking at that act or executive order that was signed by President Bola Tinubu just last week, indicating that better incentive will be for those that truly want to invest in our oil and gas sector, looking and knowing that green energy seems to take the day. But how can we also remain being the largest or having the largest deposit of oil and gas reserve on the continent? How can we truly engage and see how we can really improve on what we have to better the lots and life of our all Nigerians? But still talk about better. Now, let's look at it. Many are saying that we've gone from the era of just hide or chase. And when I mean hide or chase, if you do understand the way Tatita handles most of the security issues, knowing that they know a whole network of around the creeks, it's now becoming quite difficult for most of these bunkerers or even foreign nationals that come to the shores of these countries to steal crude. They're now finding it more of a difficult task to do. But irrespective of that, we also are talking about sustaining that piece. How really important is it that the Nigerian government should also engage international bodies on the need for them to disencourage their nationals for coming to our shores and stealing our oil? And how really important is the international community in labeling stolen crude from Africa's most populous nation that has been sold in the world market for sanctions to follow such entities or group? So how really important is it for us to engage the international community in helping us to stop the issue of oil theft, which many argue is one of our biggest problems? Our former President Olusegun Obasanjo said almost 80% of our oil is being stolen. We're just left with only 20%. So how can we engage the international community?
Of course, that is where the Interpol also comes in. It is important, to expose some of these private security, that have done their own work very, very well, within the country that has limited drastically, the theft. But now that also brings to the point that even the thieves are not necessarily the locals that are vandalizing pipes. The actual thieves are on suits and tie. They're in the NNPC. The actual thieves are in government. The actual thieves are people that are within the government and dining with the government. So the government knows those thieves. The actual oil thieves are not how many of barrel can oil bunker cook in a day. Those are just minor thieves. The actual thief is in the international scene. International, and of course that Nigeria oil has label. Every oil has a name. There is Nimbe oil, there is other oil that has a name. So
which
there's a signature.
An easy way to identify.
The essence of signatures on oil is to easily identify the signature of that oil. So of course there is that need for international collaboration, Interpol collaboration. Of course OPEC also plays a fantastic role in all of it, and also the world stage also. So the federal government need to be deliberate. This government need to be deliberate to have that, collaboration with international bodies and see how they can, even if stolen crude is being identified, to repatriate those stolen crude back to the country. Now, but of course, there's something about these package thieves that are solely intelligent, that are part of the system. It is difficult to also identify which one is stolen crude and which one is not stolen. So the better thing that you have to have scapegoats. You have to hold persons accountable. Those that have been held responsible, they're not those thieves. Even Tanzania have uncovered, one or two of them. But of course, we don't, for one, for the safety of our environment, burning of those captured crude is environmental terrorism, and that should stop immediately. That should stop. You should not hold and burn. You should hold and, recycle and bring back to the country.
It's our own, God-given crude.
Yeah, so we should hold and refine. So that is why modular refineries should be within the Niger Niger Delta, we particularly in those areas that those thieves, oil thievery is being done. If there are modular refinery, if there are artisan refinery, you know, that needs those crude, you know, for refining, you see that it will drastically reduce oil thieves, particularly those major thieves. You know, they will not have the gates. It's breached. So there is need to build that infrastructure, a modular refinery infrastructure. That's why there's a call for that modular refinery. For me, it's not even enough artisan refinery like the mechanics, of course, on the roadside. That is mechanic, that is not certified, that not go to any school, but because of training is not a mechanic. That same way, we want those artisan refineries in our localities, in our environment, to further reduce these criminals that have been thieving our oil for over the years.
Well, then we'll come back and talk about those artisan refinery, which is one major one, also on the front burner of a major Niger Delta youth and also forum, just like yours. But let's go on that break now and get more from our sponsors, and when we'll come back, more to talk about on federal government's recent push to reposition the oil and gas sector.